Hopefully that should be working. Yeah, and I'll hand over to you to introduce yourself to those students. My name's Spencer. I'm the coordinator for performing and visual arts at the college. So I kind of look after all 9 of the arts, which includes textiles and fine art, and all those that will be, many of our students that have joined will be taking those subjects, hopefully, and some might not have. So yeah, I'll hand over to you guys as you can introduce yourselves for those students.
Certainly. Hi, guys. Thank you for sharing your afternoon with me. I'm Stefan Orschel-Reed, and I am the course leader for BA Fashion Design at Cambridge School of Arts within Anglia Ruskin University. And maybe Chloe, you can introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, so I'm Chloe. I'm a 3rd year film and media student. I am a commuter student, so anybody that thinks like, even if it's not to Anglia Ruskin, if anybody thinks about being a commuter student, please ask, because I know that is one thing that people stress. Oh my God, I don't want to live. Yeah, please ask away if you've got anything. And student life as well, I'm quite happy to answer.
Fantastic. I'll probably ask you questions during our question and answer session, Chloe. So I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah, and great, and George, just to say, for those students that have just joined, if you do have a question, you're all on mute and you can't come off mute. So do just write the question in the chat and we'll get round to it, either at the question and answer section or as we go, depending on how you feel about that, Stefan. Okay.
Can you let me know if that's sharing?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Fantastic. Okay, so I've joined Sedina Islington College. Thank you for having me to talk this afternoon about essentially careers in the creative industries. I'm from Anglia Ruskin and the Cambridge School of Art, and this talk will be predominantly around fashion careers. So we talk about creative careers often, and I want to sort of flesh out through this presentation. I'll start with going through just discussing a bit about what fashion is to begin with. After that, I will be moving towards looking at our course and how it's structured, and the typical UK offerings also of further education routes within fashion, textiles, fashion communication, and so on. And then I'm going to be looking at routes to careers. Fantastic. So let's talk about fashion. I give a little bit of background to myself and how I came to fashion. I didn't come from the traditional creative route. I was a politics and science student at school. And I actually came to fashion as a mature student. My first degrees were in psychology. My second was in law. And I realized that it wasn't working for me. Sounds silly to say, but in terms of karma, I wasn't happy working within an industry where in law, where most of the people aren't thrilled. They're not in a happy space. So for me, it sounds silly, perhaps, but I decided to try to make the world a little bit more beautiful. And I put together a portfolio. I went through the route of a foundation degree. I did that at London College of Fashion. Then I went on to a BA degree at Central St. Martin's. And while I was there, I launched my brand. And I came back a few years later to do my MA at the Royal College of Art. And since then, I've owned my own fashion brand for more than a decade. I've showed at London Fashion Week, Milan, and so forth. And then about a decade ago, 9 years ago, I relocated to the Far East, based out of Hong Kong, where I led a group of creative colleges delivering degrees and masters for students across the creative industries. So let's talk a little bit about what fashion is. It's difficult to define, but I would say I always think that it is without doubt that to graduate with a degree in design is a great achievement. You'll take great pride in yourself and your decision to study a creative course, and you will launch your career with an eye-catching professional portfolio and a standout final collection. Now, why go to study fashion design at all? Some of these skills could be picked up through internships. Yes and no, but I think the most important thing is contacts and networking. This is a key part, and in my experience, it was extremely useful. My first job within fashion was picked up through a contact at the university, and I had been able to liaise and meet a lot of people within media, within the design industry. And when I launched my own fashion brand, I was able to pull on those networks actually, and they were, you know, the first guests at my fashion shows, and it led to a lot of success. So I think with this comes a little bit of advice. When you go into university, try not to see yourself as a student. Try to see yourself already as a practitioner, and start making those networks and those contacts, because you don't know where they might help you working forwards in your career. Most fashion degrees allow working in the creative industries, for want of a better word, an internship or a placement program. This is a fantastic extended experience. It can be a year long during your studies. It could be a 3-month program. And it gives you the chance to pick an area within the industry or a company within the industry to go and get real hands-on experience. Within studies of fashion design, we're always looking at employability. We're also looking at entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is a kind of key part of my approach to education. Many of my graduates over the past years have gone on to launch their own businesses, design studios, and with a lot of success. It's also a really strong area to explore ideas and growing a business or startup. Those are big risks when financials are included upon embarking on a fashion career. In a educational safe space, you can explore those, you can get feedback, and you can make those, use the contacts that we have also to bounce ideas backwards and forwards. It's extremely important also to be able to access all of the industry facilities and kit. Within, for Anglia Ruskin, for example, those include traditional equipment and kit, such as mannequins to drape upon, industrial sewing machines, embroidery machines, but also goes into more innovative equipment as well, such as motion capture, 3D body scanning, 3D printers, all of which we have for the students to use, and expert guidance and advice. And I think for me, some of the most memorable experiences from my own schooling were the chance to meet fantastic mentors who have a strong connection with the industry and get feedback from them on my ideas. Why I also go on to study is the creative industry globally is increasing 3 times faster than the other industries. 1 in 11 UK jobs is in the creative economy. That's 3.2 million jobs and growing. So this is a really safe career, actually. I'm often asked by parents of prospective students, how will this equip my student, my son or daughter for their career? Well, actually really well. About 1 in 18 UK businesses is in the creative industries. That's a huge number. Now, what will you choose when you go on to study? So I want to, in this section, cover a little bit about the various different programs available to prospective students looking in the areas around fashion. So first of all, it can get a bit overwhelming, and this is where your own career advisor would be of much help to you, because there's BA Hons, there's BDes Hons, there's higher national diplomas, there's diplomas of higher education, and there's BTECs. The traditional route is a BA Hons, Bachelor of Arts with honours, and that honours is actually important when you're looking at the creative career that you're looking for. Do try to select a course that has that honours degree, because it allows you to apply for slightly higher positions within the industry than a BA without honours. There's a variety of choices here in the UK. Fashion design, fashion communication. Communication generally refers a little bit more to PR and marketing. Journalism, fashion management, so that's looking at how you manage and the commerce side of a fashion brand. Textile design, moving away from garment and rather looking at textile, which could be looking at print, could be looking at knitwear, embroideries. Accessories, so we're talking hats, bags and shoes. Fashion image and styling, so creating campaigns for fashion brands, for advertising, lookbooks and so forth. Fashion illustration, quite a specialist area within the industry where you are looking at unleashing your creative potential with mixed media portrayals of garments and what's shown on the catwalks. Fashion buying, that's where you work within a fashion brand and you are going to the various shows and trade shows and curating selection for retail. Fashion branding, so that's all looking at image, design, corporate communications. Sportswear design and fashion technology. Fashion technology is looking particularly at the machinery and innovative equipment and possibilities that link into the fashion industry. So our school, Anglia Ruskin Cambridge School of Art, we put on a BA Hons in fashion design. This lovely lady here is Monique. She's one of our technical staff. And we offer a pathway to suit you. And I think this is really important, that when you're looking at what you want to do, is to actually decide how do you want to go through your pathway, because there's more flexibilities these days than there were perhaps when I was a student. We offer a 3-year straight through pathway. We offer 4 years with a foundation inbuilt. We offer also 4 years with a placement, so you go off for 1 year and do a sandwich internship. And this links you through either directly into the industry, and I'll talk about some of those positions that would suit after, or to go on to do a master's or further study. I'm going to talk a little bit about the design of our course, which is similar across many of the different design schools, in terms of what each of the years offer and what you will get out of each of the years. So most British degrees are built across this idea of a 3-year program. You may have the 1 year going off to do an extended internship, which normally comes between year 2 and year 3. So year 1 is all around fundamentals. Our modules cut, form and construction, look at pattern cutting, draping, the construction on sewing. We look at design, visual material practice. This is a module much more focused on developing your own design visual and your ideas of what you see yourself. And we start right from the beginning, asking you to understand about visual communications, the graphic design of your work, and how you present your work through portfolio. Going into year 2, we start to expand laterally. We have a Ruskin module that was a really exciting, where you get to take courses outside of the fashion school. And you get to network with students across various different programs. And we have fashion communication and promotion. So this is really looking at the press and marketing of your work, understanding the idea of self-branding, design and professional practice, and contemporary issues and debates. And going through into year 3, we really support the students to develop their own idea of what they want to be within their career. And we support very much a student-led approach in the final year, where we're really focusing on your depth of practice. You have a research project. We offer working in the creative industry. So this is the 3-month internship, which can be obviously in the current stage also delivered working remotely. And across the whole of the final year, we have this really intense year-long module, fashion design major project and professional portfolio. Within this, you will produce your own fashion collection, extended fashion collection. You'll be working with technicians, alongside technicians to produce the garments. Will help you develop the portfolio to go into the industry. And the collection itself, you get to photograph and brand, ready to go and work as the next generation of creative superstars. So our learning environment, it's, apologies, some of the slides have switched around their formatting, my apologies. Our learning environment, we're distinctly international. Our students come from across Europe and the globe. The moment some of our final years, for example, are from Portugal. Our staff are distinctly international and have international experience, myself included, with my extensive experience in the Far East. We're dynamic. We inspire you to challenge the conventions of practice, innovate, and become a designer of the future. So we're not just here to teach you to sell commercial garments that exist today. We're looking at you to explore the potentials of what is coming. We foster creative practice within a theoretical framework. We stimulate aesthetic, innovative, market-driven and technical confidence. So we're really trying to get you equipped with all of the necessary skills to succeed. And we prepare you for a career in the global fashion industry, not only focused on UK opportunities, but those globally. Future-proof yourself. We ask you and invite our students to explore all aspects of fashion design within our recognized industry relevant curriculum. Challenge, experiment, and innovate in topical projects and work with a range of industry professionals. This idea of topicality within creative careers is sometimes overlooked. Our students explore really meaningful inspirations and we support them through that. Those could be explorations of social problems, challenging political areas, and sustainability. So we really ask you to look at meaningful topics to talk about and explore within the creative output that comes through. Receive ongoing employability support to find placements and work experience. And our students get to launch their collection at Graduate Fashion Week and our annual Graduate Fashion Show, as well as our end of course degree show. We have a catwalk show coming up at Graduate Fashion Week. It'll be live streamed. I'll be sharing some contacts later as well in where to stay in touch with us, so you can actually get to see the work from our students During COVID, obviously, we're not able to attend the Catwalk show, but it will be live streamed. So our mentors, our practitioners at Cambridge School of Art, myself, Stefan Orschel-Reid, course leader, Dr. Wendy Moody, who's our senior lecturer, Mark Hart, another senior lecturer who's had a huge amount of experience working with brands such as Chloe. Claire Payne is an associate lecturer. Monique Brown, our technical officer, who you saw earlier on in one of the earlier slides. Jane Brighouse, another technical officer. And alongside this, we have a lot of visiting lecturers and mentors that come in and share their experience within specialist areas within the industry. The site, now it's one of the most beautiful environments to study within. First of all, it's in the beautiful Ruskin building. This is the original Cambridge School of Art. On the same floor as us, we have Printworks. The floor above has illustration and graphic design. So you're surrounded by a pool of really interesting individuals in this very, very beautiful historic building. Our spaces, we have fashion workshops. These include industrial sewing, finishing, embroidery, and seam sealing machines. We have a Mac and PC suite equipped with the latest software, including Adobe Creative Suite. I've actually just expanded our equipment and software facilities, so we now have some really innovative software such as Clo 3D, which is for 3D design development and 3D pattern cutting. Gerber with Technologies, which is for pattern cutting and grading. We have a makerspace with equipment for woodwork, plastics, vacuum forming, metalwork, plaster, clay, mold making, laser cutting, body scanning, and 3D printing. So any sort of innovative production alongside that works into your inspirations and your outputs. We have weekly life drawing available, dedicated fine art and illustration studios above us, specialist printmaking workshops with etching, screen printing, lithography, relief pressing, and letterpress printing, and the really beautiful Ruskin Gallery, which is just around the corner from the fashion department, which is a professional and groundbreaking digital art gallery. The image up here on the top right, that's the Ruskin Gallery. Really beautiful space, and below is some of our workshops for the students. Now, what are the requirements to go and study within our institution? And it's very similar to most of the others. First of all, we look for a minimum of 2 A levels. Normally these would include art and design or media subjects, or we could be looking at the UCAS tariff points that would accredit BTECs, higher education diplomas, international baccalaureate, 3 GCSEs above, and if relevant, if English is not your native language, IELTS 6.0. More interesting, I think, is what we look for, which are the non-academic conditions, and that's an art portfolio and an interview. And we look for in the portfolio various evidence of drawing, 3D and 2D projects. And these don't have to be fashion, but we're always really looking for how you experiment within 3D. Look at sketchbooks, research, awareness of designers and artists. Yeah, and okay, so what does one kind of get out of a degree? Links to employability in industry through real-time projects, working in the industries, this creative placement. We work with River Island. We do a visit to their design studios in London. They get to see your CV, they get to see your portfolio, and you get feedback from them on that. You know, River Island, a big employer here within the UK. We have business in the creative arts. This is an entrepreneurship module equipping you with the relevant commercial, marketing, brand awareness, and legal awareness to go and launch your own fashion brands. A wide range of visiting lecturers, Graduate Fashion Week, and a dedicated employability service and visiting employers to guide you through it. Also interview skills to make sure that you go forth into a great career. I'm always asked, you know, how is it working within fashion? Fashion, it's a tough industry, but it's also an extremely exciting industry. Every day you get to work with really some of the most inspirational people. Every day is different. Things come that are completely unexpected. One of the things that stands out in my career, after my first show at London Fashion Week, I got, I'm really uncool, I should say. And I got a call from my PR agent. She said, "Hi, I've got Lady Gaga on the phone." I had no idea who she was. Anyway, I worked with her over a year creating costumes for her appearances, and so that was really sort of exciting. And these are the kind of things that do happen to real people. And that collaboration with Lady Gaga led on to a lot of interesting job opportunities afterwards as well. So if you go in, decide to pursue creative career, who will you be? There is a wealth of design opportunities within the industry, and they're always ever sort of expanding. I've split this slide into three sort of distinct sections. The first is the sort of areas around fashion design. The second column is more around production. And the third column is more on what comes after the garment is created. So fashion designer, it is the sort of all-encompassing and still one of the largest career opportunities within the sector. With the BA Hons, I mentioned before, BA with honours, you are normally able to go and apply for an assistant fashion designer. Could be an entrepreneur. I mentioned a lot of our students launch their own fashion brands here, abroad, and so forth. Creative director, this is where you lead the vision for a fashion brand. I was creative director myself. Textile design, print or graphic designer within a fashion brand. Fashion illustrator, accessory designer. In terms of the production, you have every fashion brand has a studio manager. It's their job to oversee how the studio, the atelier operates, making sure that everyone's meeting their deadlines, that submissions to the technologists go in on time, orders are delivered on time, and liaise with clients. Garment technologist, textile technologist, product developer, production assistant, pattern cutter and grader, color developer, and your brand researcher. Within the commerce side, we have fashion marketing, so getting the work into the public awareness, brand manager, account manager, where you're dealing with direct business to business commerce, global supply chain manager. Obviously, the industry is extremely global, international. We work with touch points and suppliers and vendors globally, and it's working with the product across that supply chain. Promotions and event management. So this is organizing exhibitions, catwalk shows, PR, so buyers lunches and so forth, working with media. Fashion journalist, working within either the broadsheets or industry publications. Trend forecaster. This is probably the highest paid job within the sector. It is a trend forecaster's job to advise the industry, produce publications that advise designers and brands across the globe on what the next trends will be, looking up to 5 years ahead. It's an extremely interesting area. We have big companies such as WGSN are within trend forecasting, and it's an extremely well-paid position. Fashion buyer, I touched on before. E-commerce, social media, visual merchandising, and a stylist. Now let's discuss money. I think it's really sort of important. Well, first of all, fashion is one of the biggest industries in the world. It's arguably sort of rank 3 in terms of the world, and it's a really well-paid job, which is it's important. You know, going on to study any degree, whether working as a remote student, commuting student like Chloe, or on site, it is an investment into your future. And the good thing is that the fashion industry pays really well, especially at the emerging points. And there's a wealth of jobs available. Creatives earn more. So the global apparel market is projected to grow in value from 1.5 trillion US dollars in 2020 to about 2.25 trillion. So almost double, showing that the consumer demand is on the rise across the world. And that's for me, it was a kind of a must for everyone that I was employing, for them to come in to me with a degree within the creative industries, and preferably a BA with honours. Your average weekly earnings for employees working within the creative industry are also about 1/3 higher than the UK average. Your future, it begins today. I should mention all of the images that have gone alongside these slideshows. These are our graduates and my students. This particular student, Rai Parina, is a Nepalese student that I worked with. And she's one of the first Nepalese fashion designers to launch her own brand. I promised earlier that we would share some of the contacts with you. So there's a whole bunch of Instagrams, web links there, and obviously our admissions email. But I probably would just push you to the second Instagram there on the left column, CSA Fashion Ruskin. Our show at Graduate Fashion Week, portfolios from Graduate Fashion Week, and fashion films that we'll be showing at Graduate Fashion Week will all be linked there. So if you have a chance, you do have Instagram, CSA Fashion Ruskin, stay connected with us and get to see the next sort of steps for some of our graduates, which is really exciting for us as well. You'll have the chance to find out more. We have a virtual open day coming up. So Cambridge School of Art, what do? We transform lives. We give you long-lasting skills to equip you for the future. We offer innovative and inclusive entrepreneurial education and research. So thank you very much. That comes to the end of my slideshow. I'm going to stop sharing screen and have opportunity to sort of answer some questions as well.
Great, thank you so much, Stefan. Really comprehensive. So I'll ask any students if you can put any questions in the chat. And we'll wait a couple of moments for that.
Yeah.
Perhaps one thing that we could talk about just while students are doing that is if you could give an outline maybe of the average week perhaps for a student and what that might look like. Obviously there's a range of courses there and they'll all look very different for those courses, but what can a student expect to have in terms of contact time, access to places? Hours are obviously very different in most universities, especially practical courses like this. So what could a student expect to experience in an average week?
Absolutely. Well, one of the things within Cambridge School of Art that we focus on is small class sizes. That for me is really important. So that gives you a lot of chance. I won't name names, but there's other big fashion schools where you may be one of 30 students in a division of a year of actually 200, and you lack that opportunity to reach out directly to your mentors who are on site all the time. So that's a really key part, and I think Chloe would probably agree with me. That's common across whole of Cambridge School of Art, is this idea of small class size and the opportunity to really have a proper connection, both pastoral and academic, with your mentors.
Yeah, I mean, I had a class for animation, and I think it went to 20, and I think like it kind of caps at 20, 25, because as soon as you kind of get over those numbers, that's it. You kind of lose contact with the lecture. And I don't know, I like the class sizes. I think that it's good that we have so much contact time with them, because I don't know, it would just change everything. You would maybe feel a bit overwhelmed if there were so many students. I mean, there is courses like psychology, which has got 200, nearly 300 students, but when you bring it to a seminar, it completely breaks down and there's probably 20, 30 of you. And that's what I like. You're not just kind of shoved away from everybody and you're kind of in the background. You kind of have to speak, you have to say your mind. And being in the creative industry, you have to do that anyway. So it kind of pushes you to do it.
Right. In terms of the sort of weekly, most of the students will be studying 3 modules at a time. And our sort of model within Cambridge School of Art are quite long modules. Some of them extend the whole way through the academic year. That means that there's chances for real depth of exploration, experimentation. You can go back and redo if you're not happy. So it's not sort of rapid fire delivery. It's quite a beautiful sort of holistic approach. So studio, so there's going to be a difference between current provisions where students are kind of offline and online. In a non-COVID world, students would be generally coming into the campus about 3 times a week for tutorials or presentations. The access to the studios is open all the time. Even outside of office hours, the students have access to the fashion studios and the equipment, therefore. Our technicians are full-time, so they're always on site. There's there to answer technical questions, and likewise with our academics. With the kind of blended approach, which probably most universities will be faced with going into the next academic year, there'll probably be a mixture of students who are studying completely online, some students that are offline, and a mixed blended delivery as well. So a lot of the technical classes will be delivered via live stream, and additional sort of learning resources provided, such as videos of those demonstrations. Lectures and small seminars can be delivered from the comfort of your own home. But there'll also be a real opportunity to still come in as the staff are there for certain of the kind of big presentations. So it'll be an interesting kind of choice going forwards to see how the UK government directs us. But yeah, it's roughly about 3 classes per week.
Great, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. There's a couple of questions come through just on the chat. So Alice has asked about art foundation courses before doing kind of a fashion degree, because some of our students will be doing, as I said, textiles already or an art course, but some won't be and will be thinking about a fashion degree. Kind of what would you think about the art foundations before?
Yes, it's sort of requirement almost. What I would say to Alice, however, is to rather than trying to find a foundation and then a year later start the whole process to move again to find another institution, is actually to find a school like Cambridge School of Art that has an inbuilt foundation, where you choose, instead of going directly into the first year of the degree, you actually do the foundation, which gives you a pathway directly into the degree that you want to do. So yes, Alice, it's kind of required, but rather don't. I did the old-fashioned approach. I did a foundation here, and then a year later had to go through the whole applications again to do a BA in a different institution. I would advise to go through the whole process in one.
Great, thank you. And Freya has asked, and this is the age-old question, how easy do graduates find getting jobs after uni? So obviously you went through a range of jobs, but how does that maybe happen, and the percentages, I suppose?
Absolutely. I won't speak on every creative industry, but I'll give you my own specific. 90% plus of my graduates are within further education or the fashion industry within 6 months of graduating. There's a lot of jobs in fashion, as we discussed. It's a rapidly growing industry. That kind of means that we can't keep up. Almost, we're always looking to recruit, and also the industry is experimenting and exploring. So we're always looking for new ideas and new approaches to come in, and that's why we're looking for hiring graduates. We want that next generation of ideas and thinkers to connect with the consumers as well. So yes, about 90% plus that are in further education or the industry within 6 months.
Great, yeah, that's fantastic, and I think hopefully that really answers your question, Freya. I think one more, and then we'll probably have to kind of wrap up a little bit. So Hasti has asked about getting work experience or trying to network now, I suppose, before going into a degree, because it's, I suppose, the best way to try and find if you want to do that thing or not. So do you have any advice about where to look for things like that?
Absolutely. I touched on it earlier. I'll give my experience of being a student as well, and then I'll pass over to Chloe to give her feedback as well. First of all, what advice? Be fearless. That sounds silly. When I was going through my fashion degree, I don't come from a wealthy background, and I had to work to support myself. And I was working as a stylist during my first year, and I was just calling up every fashion magazine to see if I could work with them. And probably 9 out of 10 said no, but one would say yes. And that kind of just starts the ball rolling. I mentioned earlier, again, don't wait for someone to tell you you're a designer. Come in to the study and already see yourself as a designer, as a professional. And right from the beginning, start looking for opportunities. Also speak to your mentors, because we're really, we're all working designers as well, and we have a lot of connections. So we can put you in touch with a lot of opportunities to kind of gain that experience sort of informally. And yeah, but most importantly, be fearless, go out and don't be afraid of rejection, because actually all you need is the 1 out of 10 person to say yes. And it starts your career from there. Chloe, what advice would you give?
I mean, I have done so much work experience that I don't even think I have, between year 12 and now, I don't think I've had time to breathe in terms of uni, socializing and doing work experience and working at the same time. But when you start your job, that kind of all goes away. In theory, you have 3 or 4 really tough years to get all that experience, and you can do it before you start uni. It doesn't have to start at uni. And there are so many opportunities. I mean, I'm from Peterborough, and there's direct train links from here to London, and there's a fashion TV channel near me, and I know they offer experience because I went to experience for them just for TV. So you don't have to just go to an industry and go, oh no, their TV channel. Like, actually, they do fashion. Go say, oh, I need some fashion experience. Have you got anything? Even if it's being a runner, like, you can get experience and you'll see things being done. You'll see how it works, and ask loads and loads of questions. Because if you don't ask any questions, it's really pointless, because that's what they're there for. They're there to help you. Even though it is their job, you're there for experience. They will help you. And that is so key, because if you don't ask, you'll never get anything out of it.
I'm probably going to ask you, Chloe, a couple of questions about actually the student experience. Why did you choose to study within Cambridge rather than, say, big cities such as London or Manchester?
Yeah, Cambridge is close to home, and I mean, I looked all over the place. I looked at Plymouth, Derby, Bath Spa. Like, it wasn't as if, and Cambridge was one of those options that I put on my UCAS application as the last option. It wasn't somewhere I looked at, and I didn't even consider it. And then when I got an unconditional offer, I was like, oh my gosh, close to home, perfect to commute. Went in, and it's such a lovely university. You feel like you're at home, and it doesn't matter. As soon as you walk through that door, if you look nervous, somebody will come over and ask you. Everybody's been through the same boat, and I mean, some universities won't do that, but Anglia Ruskin is really, really good for it. You walk through the door and you might look a little bit scared. They'll help you.
It feels like family, right?
It does. It's such a family-orientated uni. And I mean, when I went for my applicant day, my course, like, all of us were in a room together, and we got to know each other really, really quickly. And now we're like this huge family, film and media, little family. I mean, there's only 9 of us on my course, but we're like a little family. And you meet people from other courses as well. Like, I know people on the fashion course. I know people on fine art, because you collaborate. So you're not, even though you are your own little family, you're part of a bigger, wider family as well. And it's so nice. And once you leave, it's not like some universities, you leave and that's it. You'll still keep in contact with the uni. You'll still keep in contact with people that you was on the course with, which is really, really nice.
Right. Yeah, one of my friends here in Cambridge, he was a graduate from film, and he still works with the department to this day. Now, what about Cambridge in terms of the student experience outside of academia? Obviously, it's a student city. How is it being here, and how does that play into you being a commuter student?
It's a really, really nice.
Do you get to experience some of the student life here?
I do. I mean, because being a commuter student, you feel like you have to push yourself a bit more. You're not in it already. And I mean, my friends have been amazing. If I want to go on a night out, they'll ask me, and I'll stay on their floor, on their couch in the communal room. Like, or you can rent a room through the uni. If there is a spare room, you can rent it for a couple of days, or you can go to a hotel, and they are cheap in Cambridge. So in terms of student life outside of uni, in terms of going out, it's really good. And then also the societies and the clubs and the sports teams, they're brilliant. I mean, I said to the netball team once, oh, I'm really interested, but the times aren't good for me. And they tried their utmost hardest to change the times just so that I could train. And yeah, again, you just got to ask questions and get yourself involved, because uni is a brilliant, brilliant experience.
Yeah, for me, I would probably actually say why why Cambridge appealed to me as well to relocate here. It's such a beautiful city.
It is. It's
so much open green space. I lived in London for a decade, and it's a bit of a hustle. Cambridge is just, it's such a beautiful environment to work and study within as well.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, we probably need to wrap up. Spencer, is there any sort of questions that you might have, or any closing points that you
No,
want to bring?
I think how it's just so exciting, like so exciting. You know, all the things that you kind of talked about just sound amazing. You know, what I would strongly suggest students, if you've got any other questions, then get in touch. You know, as Chloe was saying, ask. You've got the contact details. This will be a recording, and this will be on our careers channel pages as well, so you can listen back, get the stuff that was on there, and just engage with your teachers here, and ask questions from us as well in the department if you've got any kind of questions about courses such as this. But thank you so much. That's been fantastic.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for sharing your afternoon with us. I really mean that.
And yeah, and we had 12 students on the call, and I think all of them have got loads out of this. So thank you so much. So thank you for those students as well coming. And if you've got any questions, then of course just ask Careers or ask us as well, and get in touch with Stefan and Chloe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful afternoon and goodbye.